Hello friends, let us discuss the creation of country cluster table under the cluster and cluster development session unit 6. So today we are discussing the creation of a country cluster table. There are 11 such columns in this table. This table has to be prepared by any entrepreneur who wants to set up any units in a cluster. First item is name of the cluster. The name of the cluster can be placed like pharma cluster, textile, engineering, auto ancillary, and chemical, and any other, whatever the industry or whatever the MSME unit the entrepreneur wants to set up. Where is the location? This location is available on the Ministry of MSME website. Also, these locations we can find out. You can search the browse the UNIDO website also. So there are industry of MSME is available to help in this area. Whether the cluster is natural or whether the cluster is induced, we have to write natural NA, induced IN. Whether the product belongs to traditional, it is traditional art or craft art. So we have to write here whether it is traditional art or we can write craft art. Whether the cluster is modern or it is old. Large unit centers, we can use the letter L, vertical, V, horizontal, H, or if it is both, then B. So we have already discussed the vertical and the horizontal. What is vertical, what is horizontal? Then degree of product specialization. To what extent the product specialization is there? Maybe product specialization means in that cluster, suppose it is a pharma cluster, suppose the generic drugs are being manufactured, suppose only paracetamol is being manufactured in that particular cluster, we can mention. Or if combination of drugs are used, then that also can be mentioned. Need for technology upgradation. If already technology is upgraded in that area, in that cluster, then we can write. If it is not, then we can write accordingly, we can mention. Whether there is export potential, market based, we can indicate MK, resource based R, infrastructure based I. And whether major problem is there, if yes, or if there is no major problem. So like this, we can mention the name of the industry, pharma, textile, engineering, auto, chemical, and all. So many others may be there, handicraft, art craft, or something like that. And accordingly, these details can be filled in the table. Now we will discuss them one by one. Creation of a country cluster table, explanation of columns of the table. Criteria for development of the country cluster table. The first item in the first column was name of the cluster. Second was location. Third was whether natural or induced. Fourth was whether the product belongs to traditional art or traditional craft. Whether modern MSME, large unit centered, vertical, horizontal, or both. It depends on the mutual relationship amongst the producing enterprises in the cluster, because vertical and horizontal we have already discussed. It is based on the mutual relationship amongst the producing enterprises in the cluster. The degree of product specialization, need for technology upgradation, export potential, whether market based, resource based, infrastructure based, or any major column. So these are the all 11 columns which are given in this table. So this table has to be, all this data has to be filled up when we want to create a country cluster table. Now, short list of the clusters. What are the steps? Prepare a preliminary short list of clusters. A regional agency will concentrate on a cluster or clusters in the territory. There is always a regional agency. If you go to Gurgaon, there is a regional agency. There are manufacturer of ready-made garments are there. As I told you, in Ludhiana, knitwear is there. And So many places we have just discussed. So there has to be a regional agency, maybe under functioning under the state government or the central government. The regional agency will, you can find out the details of the regional agency locally. A sectoral, functional, specialized agency will select similar clusters in different regions. An agency with no regional or sectoral bias can select a mix of clusters distributed over regions and products. If it has the capacity to handle more than one cluster, and if there is added value in terms of cumulative development effects in assisting a mix of clusters. So this regional agency depends on that. What is the capacity of that regional agency? The cluster initiatives reckoner. State-wise details are given here. So this is the website address where we can find out state-wise details. This is Ministry of MSME, www.dcmsme.gov.in oblique clusters backslash class backslash class group class org mpng. So this is the website details where from all these details can be found out, where the cluster initiatives have been taken, and these details are available state-wise. Final selection of the cluster. The final selection, importance of cluster is important thing. Cluster with large number of enterprises that absorb sufficient share of local workforce, enterprises having export potential, linkages with other sectors, presence of any development agency. This is the importance of cluster. This is given the maximum importance. Then the viability of the cluster. Cluster selection should focus on factors with solid growth prospects. What are the growth prospects of that cluster? Suppose one entrepreneur is going to set up an industry, MSME enterprise, in one particular cluster where there he finds no growth prospects, means the technological advancement may not take place, training institutions may not be there, other business associations may not be there, supports may not be there. So that cluster will die down of its own death. In that case, who will be the loser? The new entrepreneur, that will be the loser. So the viability has to be assessed. The focus of growth should not be mere price, that means profit, but also product quality. Promotability. If there is any trustworthy institution or association in the cluster that enjoy the trust of the enterprises, provide capable leadership, adequate business infrastructure, and a conducive policy framework. Whether such kind of facility is available in that cluster. Before we finalize a cluster, we have to see importance of the clusters, viability, promotability, and complementarity. The effectiveness of technical upgradation program can be greatly enhanced if complemented with a marketing related program. So if all these four things we have discussed, we have to, before we go for a final selection of a cluster in which an entrepreneur wants to set up his MSME unit, then these things have to be focused on. Then final selection, for that we can prepare one table. These are the parameters: existing contribution to local economy, location of cluster, outreach of the cluster, socio-environmental condition, market potential, promotability, subsidiaries, and total weightage score. So everywhere here the weightage score is 10, 10, 20. Here socio-economic condition 0. Then market potential 40. This is only example we are giving. Promotability 15, subsidiary 5. Now this total is 100. Now scores X, Y, and Z. These are the clusters X, Y, and Z. Now in X, the existing contribution to local economy out of 10, 5. Say for example, 5 marks have been given. Similarly, here 4. here 6, here 2, 8, 4, 5. Similarly, here in Y cluster, we are giving these marks. These are based on our understanding and our studies that the entrepreneur can provide this, give these marks. Here send 6, 5, 6, 4, 5, 5, 3. Now, we have to now work out a weighted average, weighted score. The weighted score, what is the formula? Weighted score is equal to score, that means 5. Suppose we take example here x, 5. Weighted score is 5 divided by 100. The score is 5 divided by 100 into weight 10. That means 5 upon 100 into 10. That is 0.5. In case of y, 4 upon 100 into 10. It is 0.4. In case of z, 6 upon 100 into 10 is 0.6. We can see here also out of 40, here it is 8. 8 upon 100 into 40 is 3.2, like 1.2. Then we have totaled up. We find that 6.2 is highest among these three. These are X, Y, and Z, three clusters. X, Y, Z, we have worked out the weighted score, and the weighted score here is the highest one. So we would like to set up an industry in this cluster. So here the values are given to each criterion on the basis of the information gathered. This information, as I told you, this information has to be gathered locally and also through various websites. It can be gathered through the MSME websites also and UNIDO website also. And from there, we can put some marks there. We can give the marks there, depending upon the suitability. Now, from the above, we have mentioned here, X is the most promising one for intervention. So X is a 6.2. Here it is 4.3. It is 5.3. Then cluster development strategy. Skill upgradation. It involves technical training of trainees, training in basic drawing and designing skills of artisans, training of second level managers in information technology, and training in product diversification. Now, why skill upgradation is important? See, in all the industries or all the MSMEs in particular, if we find, the problem is that the skilled labor is not available because the payment for that labor is not that good because of their constraints on profitability. If they are earning good income, definitely they will be in a position to pay more to their workers, pay more to the skilled employees or the workers. But that is the main problem. So if skill upgradation is very important in the MSME, where the technical training of trainees can be given, and these trainees, this training can be given by the training institutions which are available in the cluster. That is the advantage of setting up a unit in a cluster. So this training can be pertaining to basic drawing and designing skill of the artisans, second level managers. Second level means supervisors in the information technology, and training in product diversification. Product diversification means various kind of the product, similar kind of product they are going to manufacture. Over a period of time, the product life will die down. It will attain a particular level where it will mature and then it will start declining. There are 4 stages of the product. So product diversification is very important. We have to see to it that product is diversified if at all a unit wants to stay in competition. Then strengthening of linkages, participation of local, national, international trade fairs, organization of exhibition cum sales, showrooms, renovations, selection criteria of directors, designers, documentation and preservation of traditional art form. So these are the linkages, very important. Local, national, international trade fair participation in that is very important because several new technology, new things that come to their notice, come to their knowledge, and they can utilize this information, this knowledge for further product development or cost-effective product development. innovative product development, introduction of new technologies, innovations to indigenous technologies. As I discussed, if the entrepreneurs participates and local, national, international trade fairs take place, in that this cluster participants go and participate in that. That is the strengthening of linkages. There they will come to know that how new technology has already been introduced and new innovations have already set in. Then we will discuss the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. What are the support they are giving? We have already discussed. UNIDO is having the database. Whatever the database is there, some most of the database is pertaining to 2005. But further, Ministry of MSME has started conducting the studies, and various latest information is also available on their website. So the support that they can provide is in mapping the competitiveness, assisting the clusters functioning for the most efficient supply chain management in the individual units and cluster as a whole. Then capacity building to realize the vision of the cluster, and providing the advisory services at the policy level. The policy level, providing the advisory services is very important because MSME units are supposed to work in an environment where they are not having much knowledge or much information about what internationally their competitors are doing. So as I told you, there are MSME units in various countries, Italy, UK, where the database is available. But there are not that in New Zealand, in Australia, everywhere MSME clusters are there. They are functioning, doing very good, and that database is also available. And they are available in large number as compared to our country's database. So, what competition they have to meet internationally? Uh, this is all these things. UNIDO, their policies, their guidelines will be helpful to the MSME units functioning in a cluster in providing the advisory services at the policy level. So, friends, we complete this session of today for the unit 6. Remaining part of the session we will handle in the next session.